Hi, hello, welcome or welcome back. I am here today to share a follow-up video to a video that I did some time ago now. I had very good intentions of doing this video back in December, but I did not get an opportunity in December. There was far too much going on, but I feel like I owe you guys the kind of conclusion to this story. If you haven't seen the previous video, it's possibly worth going back and watching it, because this is very much like a part two of two parts of a story. In a nutshell, last year I had a health scare and I found a lump in my breast, which, needless to say, was pretty damn terrifying, to be honest. Doesn't matter how old you are or how much you know that the chances are it's probably fine. Everybody's brain jumps to the first very scary C word thing when you hear that somebody's got a lump. So it was a really scary and horrible time. Fortunately, out the other side of it, and it wasn't anything serious, but it was a really hard, anxious, horrible time for us. When I shared that previous video, it wasn't an easy watch. I was aware it wasn't an easy watch because I struggled to watch it. I had lots of people say they found it really hard. I was very upset when I filmed that video, and I know that a lot of people were upset watching it, but a lot of people also reached out to say that it prompted them to check their boobs, which wasn't something that I'd massively thought would come out of that video. I just felt like I owed you an explanation for the fact that I'd been really quiet online, but it made me really proud to think that it had made people check. So I wanted to pop in now and kind of explain what actually happened, what the conclusion of all of that was. I've got another clip that I filmed at the time, which I'll probably pop in here now, which I filmed just before I went for my breast clinic appointment. So I was still very much in the throes of not having a clue what was going on. And at this point, 5 weeks in. So let me pass you back to past Lucy to explain. I really don't know how to start these videos. It is like 2.5 weeks since I sat in the car and filmed about where things were at, and in all honesty, not a great deal has changed since then. When I did that video and kind of explained what was going on, I went to the doctor's the following day, and I obviously went back to see the same GP that I'd seen the first time, and as soon as I walked in the door, he said, "Oh, so it's not gone away then?" And he was really chirpy about it, and I said, "No, and actually it's bigger." And his face kind of dropped, you know, like there was this, it's one of those things, like I might be being utterly paranoid, probably am being utterly paranoid, because I'm worried, but there was like this moment where it was like he hadn't quite got his guard back up again, and he just looked really concerned, and it really worried me. He checked me over again, and he agreed that it is bigger. He said that he had been thinking that it was possibly a cyst, because it was quite a regular kind of, it was very solid, but it was a very regular shape, but since it's grown it's much more irregular in shape. Which, I mean, we all know not to use Dr. Google, but I've used Dr. Google, and I know that rock hard, non-painful, very regularly shaped lumps are stuff that you have to worry about a little bit more. Anyway, he was really good about it and said, you know, I obviously said to you last time that I would, if it hadn't gone, that I was gonna transfer you to see the breast clinic at the hospital. I will obviously do that now. I'll put it through as an urgent appointment. And then he said, but I must warn you, the waiting time for urgent appointments is currently a fortnight. So we're now basically at around about 4 weeks now since I found that lump. I'm really determined not to cry this time. Yeah. We're 4 weeks since I found it. And I don't know anything else. I don't want to go over ground that I talked about last time because I don't want to repeat myself. But all that I keep thinking is that I know that the chances are that this is not something serious. Like, the doctor tried so hard to explain to me, and I know from stuff that I have read that the chances are it is not something serious. There is loads of stuff it could be, and only one of those loads of things is something that I would be worried about, really. But yeah, I think you just go worst case scenario, don't you? And I feel like, I don't think it's just me. I mean, I'm the sort of person that I play out every possible opportunity in my head with everything anyway. But you can't help but do the worst case scenario, and I'm trying really hard not to, but it's not very easy because I know nothing. 4 weeks ago I found a lump and I was worried about it, and I'm now like 4 and a bit weeks down the road and I still know nothing. And all I keep thinking is that if this is something serious, it's had a bloody 4-week head start. But there is nothing I can do about that. I have my appointment tomorrow at the breast clinic. I don't really know how I feel about it, to be honest. There is a weird part of me that actually feels, I kind of want to say excited. It's not really the right word, but kind of excited, because it just feels like I will finally be doing something, because at the moment I don't feel like I don't know anything. I'm not doing anything. It's just a really frustrating place to be in. And it will be nice to maybe get answers, or at least be a step closer to getting some answers. We still haven't told anybody what's going on. I think I talked about that. I did talk about that last time. And I have to say, this is possibly the loneliest thing that I have ever been through. Obviously this is it's a physical thing that has happened in my body, and I don't know what it is, and that's frustrating because it's a physical ailment. But I honestly feel like, more than that, this bit, like the waiting bit, has massively impacted my mental health. It has made me horribly anxious about everything. am just so exhausted with worrying about it all. And yeah, the good news I'm trying to hold on to is the fact that while it did grow initially, it hasn't grown anymore. I am checking myself like all the time, and there's nothing else. There's no other lumps, there's no other bumps. It's not any bigger. I'm gonna hold on to that as a good sign. But if you are watching this and you are a girl, or you know a girl, actually no, not girls, because it's not just girls that can get breast cancer, it can be anybody, but please, for God's sake, check yourself. So I actually was terrible about checking myself, and I found the lump completely by accident just while I was washing in the shower. I dread to think if it had been something like deeper in I could have missed. It's not hard, it doesn't take very long. You know, just find, if there's stuff there to be found, please find it as early as you can, because you're going to wait ages to get any answers, even if you do find something. So give yourself a bit of a head start if there's something there. Anyway, I don't really know what I'm talking about. Thank you for watching. I feel like I was quite brave this time. I don't know what I'm waffling on about now, but thank you for watching anyway. Thank you. So I obviously had my appointment at the breast clinic. I feel like I need to kind of hover for a moment over the fact that an emergency appointment at the breast clinic had a 3-week wait on it. I love our NHS. I think our NHS is amazing, and we are so very lucky to have it. But oh my God, the idea that you would wait 3 weeks for something that is considered an emergency is really horrific. And I don't think that you realise the mental energy and how exhausting that time was, because that was 3 weeks waiting for an appointment after 2 weeks since I'd found the lump. So it was 5 weeks of feeling like if it was something serious, I'd given it a 5-week head start, which was not a nice place to be. But when I finally went for the appointment, I found the appointment in itself, just the wait for the appointment, quite awful, to be honest. The waiting room that you were in at the breast clinic had all sorts of people in it. There were people that were there for their routine mammograms. So is it 50 or is it 55 that you start having routine mammograms? But there were lots of kind of middle-aged ladies in there going in for their mammograms. And there were a couple of ladies that had come with their friend. They'd like made a little day out of it, and they were having a lovely time. They had snacks and stuff in the waiting room. But there were also 3 women during the time that I sat in that waiting room who came through with no hair, who were in the throes of treatment. Oh God, 6 months ago. I really thought I was going to be brave about this now. So that's really not a very nice thing to see when you're waiting for an appointment to find out what's going on with you. I had a massive wait at the hospital. I think by the time I finally saw somebody, it was 1 hour and 20 minutes after my appointment slot. So I had seen lots of people come through the waiting room in that time. And also it just gave me 1 hour and 20 minutes in my own head to just wind myself up even more and panic myself even more. What I will say is that the appointment I had was honestly the most supportive, looked after. I felt like I was taken really seriously. It was amazing, the appointment. So the appointment I had a consultant, there was like a breast surgeon guy there and a nurse. The consultant asked me, she obviously had my notes, but she asked me to explain kind of what had happened, what was going on. Obviously had read my notes and my background, so she kind of was prompting various stuff along the way. And then she did a physical exam. So that involved, I feel like I should kind of explain what that involves, because if you've never been, and I guess you can kind of guess, but I didn't really know. So I wasn't sure at this point whether I was going for an ultrasound or for a mammogram. So I went in and she did a physical examination, which meant I sat topless, had to put my arms in the air, I had to put my arms out to the side, I had to do all kinds of like manoeuvring around so that she could see how the skin moved or puckered or whatever it did as I moved. She obviously had a good feel of it. So one of the things that they had discussed was it could be a fibroadenoma, I think that's the right word, which is basically like a collection of like flesh type cells, and they tend to be more, they're quite solid, but they tend to be quite painful. And also if it had been kind of mastitis-y breastfeeding related thing, that would have been painful, but it wasn't painful. So she did a really thorough check over. The breast surgeon came over and he had a feel, and they said that they would like to go ahead with a ultrasound. I think it was something to do with, I can't remember exactly now, but mammograms just don't tend to be very effective with younger women with younger breast tissue, and they also apparently don't tend to be as effective with lactating mothers because of the technology, I guess. So they used an ultrasound. As soon as she put the ultrasound wand kind of on the skin, she kind of went into like, she just was very descriptive, and she was obviously explaining what she could see to the breast surgeon who was at the other side of the curtain at this point. She was just explaining that she could see what the size of it was roughly, that it had really firmly, like clearly defined edges, sort of the rough, kind of like the area of it, the area of the breast that it was in. I'm guessing because they were kind of writing up a report, I'm guessing, the other side of what could be seen. And then she said, was I happy for the surgeon to come back in for a second opinion to have a look at the ultrasound? The surgeon came in and he said straight away, I'm pretty sure that that is a galactocele, which he said is a milk cyst. He said they're made in a similar way to kind of when people end up with mastitis and with a blockage, but it generally is a result of trauma, and they don't tend to be painful because they just almost like a bubble like inflates with the milk in it, but it's not inflamed and it's not infected, which is why you don't tend to get the pain with it. And he said if I was happy for him to aspirate it, so kind of remove the fluid, he'd be able to tell straight away what we were dealing with, and then he would send the sample off to pathology just to double check. So I said, you know, obviously, so I obviously said, yeah, like you can aspirate away. So they used a needle, and they obviously, the consultant used the ultrasound so that he could guide the needle into the lump. And it was crazy because I could see on the ultrasound as the lump like deflated and emptied. It was mental. And he like filled this syringe with fluid, and he said, I can say now with 90% surety that this was a galactocele because it was milk in the vial, in the syringe. He said if it had been bloody, or if it had been like a clear fluid, or if it looked like pussy, he would have been slightly more concerned and would have looked into it more. He was like, I will send it off to pathology, but I am 90% sure that this is breast milk and that you don't need to worry about it. I don't know, to be honest, how I held it together, because he then left and was like labelling stuff up, and the consultant came over and she was talking to me, and she was obviously so reassuring and so lovely, but I think it was like the relief and the worry and the like, I felt almost like, it was like somebody gave me my life back. I don't feel like I'd breathed properly for 5 whole weeks, and all of a sudden it was like I could breathe again. She was amazing, the consultant, and she said to me, you were 100% right to speak to your GP about this. You were 100% right to chase this up, to follow this up. If you ever have a problem again, you should go to your GP and they will refer you straight back to us straight away again. You did 100% the right thing. But then she also said, which honestly was just made me feel so proud. She said there are 2 risk factors for breast cancer: being a woman and getting older. She said they are your 2 risk factors for breast cancer. Breast cancer doesn't care who you are, how healthy you are, what you do with your life. The 2 risk factors for it are being female and getting older. And she said neither of those 2 things are something you can do anything about. You will get older, you will be a female. There is nothing that you can do about that. And she said there is one thing and one thing only that you can do to reduce your chances of getting breast cancer, and that is to breastfeed. She said you are giving yourself the very, very best chance of not having to deal with breast cancer in your life. She said in this country and in the world, we don't breastfeed enough and we don't breastfeed for long enough. And she said the fact that I was breastfeeding what he was then like an 18-month-old, and she said the fact that you have breastfed all your children, you are giving yourself like a leg up. There is nothing you can do about breast cancer. Breast cancer is going to choose who it's going to choose, but breastfeeding is going to give you the best chance in the world to save yourself from that. And having gone through 5 weeks of convincing myself I had breast cancer, it was nice to hear that the chances are, there's obviously never 100% guarantee, but it was really nice to know the chances are I've given myself a really good head start on not having to deal with that in my life. So that is how the story ends. A week after my appointment at the breast clinic, actually I don't think if it was a week, I think it might be about 4 days after my appointment at the breast clinic, I got a letter through from the hospital to say, from pathology, that they could confirm that it was a galactocele. Basically confirmed that there was nothing malignant about it. It was completely benign. I will say that afterwards, for a little while, I could still feel like a lumpy bit in the skin, which was obviously effectively like the bit that had like deflated down. So I could still feel it there for a little while, which did worry me a little bit. And I did ask about what the chances were of it filling back up. And they did say it could happen. Obviously, if it does, go straight back, but that it probably won't, and it hasn't so far. It's funny, now it feels almost like it was something that happened to somebody else. It was horrible. I honestly can't imagine what would have happened if it had not been the good outcome that it was. I have so much respect for people that walk that road, because I am so happy that I didn't walk that road. But one thing that I feel like I should say is that I had so many people get in contact with me when I shared that last video to say, this happened to me and I never talked about it. Or this is happening to me right now and I haven't told anybody. Now I know that I'm a fine one to talk because I didn't tell anybody what was going on at the time. But I am so, so glad that I've shared what's happened now, because I think if I had known that more people have these things happen to them, I think I would have been less afraid. But the problem is that you only ever hear the stories of like the bad stuff and the people that have just kind of gone, oh, do you know what, it ended up being okay. They don't tell you, and that made it scarier. There were so many people that reached out to me that said that this had happened to them, and I thought if I'd known this had happened to you, I would have felt a lot better about this. So I hope if you are watching this video because you found a lump, or you are in the bit where you're worrying, you don't know what's going to happen, or if you've had the same milk cyst thing that I had, that this gives you some comfort to know that if the response I had was anything to go by, lots of women go through this and lots of women are okay. That being said, please check your boobs. Please give them a good feel and make sure that you know what's normal for you. If you don't know what you're looking for or you don't know how to check, there are some fantastic charities out there. Copperfield is a really good resource with lots of information about what you should be looking for and how to check, and I think you can even set up reminders so that they remind you to check regularly. You just need to know what your normal looks like so that you know what is abnormal for you and when you need to raise the alarm and speak to somebody else about it. So thank you so much. I can't even tell you how amazing the support has been. It has meant a lot to me and it made me very emotional and I really appreciated it. So I don't really know how to finish this video now. I will finish it with a silver lining because I like to be positive about these kind of things, and there is nothing that will give you perspective on how lucky you are than a shake up and a scare like this and feeling like you're gonna lose all the amazing lucky things that have landed in your lap. Is a really good way to appreciate all the lucky and amazing things that have landed in your lap. I am gonna leave it there for today. Hopefully the next video that we have up on this channel and for the foreseeable future will be happy ones, not scary ones. Thank you for watching. Have a lovely day, whatever it is that you are doing, and I will see you again really soon. Bye.